No, she wasn't okay, Brad. God, she's not okay. She falls off the stage for crying out loud. Hey, welcome in. It is the Daily Puck Drop, episode 72, here on Thursday, May 2nd. Good morning to all of you. The Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. We do it every single day, Monday through Friday. 25 minutes or so, giving you the hard-hitting sports analysis here at pucksports.com. Also on YouTube. If you're watching, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. If you're listening on the podcast, whenever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, thank you for listening. Please leave a comment if you can. Please like the podcast as well. And please go check out pucksports.com. It's an ever-evolving, wonderful website that has also all of our weekly guests that are all up there, all past content, including our NFL draft show, our live shows that we've done with Brad Adam, which we did on Wednesdays. But if you want to know what the schedule is every single day, there is a menu there that tells you all of our weekly guests. And there's more content coming up very soon here at pucksports.com. But it is episode 72, Thursday, May 2nd. The Mariners wrapped up their series with the Braves, an afternoon game. We'll get to that. We'll get to a flag football story, a Kraken update. Just real quickly, the spinning of the narrative from an organization, which I love. I love all that kind of stuff. Deion Sanders is getting into it. And, of course, we wrap up every single daily puck drop with, hey, what the puck? And we've got a couple of non-sports stories in there. But here on episode 72, here on Thursday, May 2nd, the Mariners, again, wrap up their series with the Atlanta Braves. Hey, they didn't sweep them. So what? They just took 2 out of 3 against the team that had the number 1 offense in baseball. That's what you take away from it. You don't take away the last game because it didn't look good and because they were, Mitch Haniger had Mitch Haniger's had some rough times, especially in the field. The bat's also now starting to cool off there for Mitch Haniger. He's likely to get hurt when he ran into the wall, but they still were able to win the series. They keep winning series. They keep getting this dominant performance from their pitching staff, which, as we addressed yesterday on Puck's Best Baseball Postgame Show with Brad Adam, which we will do, by the way, on all of these day games. We've had a lot of day games that fall on a Wednesday with our Wednesday guests, Ryan Divish and Brad Adams. So we will continue to do that live on YouTube, also live on X. So please just pay attention to that. Be aware of it. We'll certainly pump that all out when we do our live content, which we'll try and do a little bit more of. But so this was a perfect series for these guys. They once again just showed that they can play with anybody in baseball with that pitching staff. I know there's a debate, obviously, with what the Phillies are doing with their staff and what the Red Sox have with their staff. And listen, the Red Sox staff is better than we thought. And I think when they played that first series, early in the season, I don't think we were aware of how good they were going to be. But I'll take this staff over any staff in baseball. They're that good right now. And they're all just kind of competing at the highest level. And you saw Emerson Hancock yesterday on Wednesday. Again, he didn't have his best stuff, wasn't sharp early on. But again, was able to kind of manage things and got away from them there in the 4th inning. You're talking about a guy who's not even the 5th starter. He's a 6th starter because Brian Woo's hurt. And Brian Woo appears to be coming back here pretty soon. But just the takeaway from that series is, yes, it's disappointing with the offense. Yes, that needs to be addressed. And hopefully these other players, like the current players, can address it themselves. I don't know if that's going to happen. It just seems like they are what they are, and this is kind of going to be what they are going to be for the season. And so hopefully, as we pleaded yesterday with our guy John Stanton, please do something at the deadline. Allow those guys to do something to add to this offense, because if it comes down to, hey, we can just eat a contract, then let's just eat a contract. Let's just spend money. At the end of the day, it's money. You are going to get it all back. All of it. It doesn't matter if you lose money in 1 year. When you eventually, and you will, right, sell your piece of the ownership or sell all of it, you're going to be swimming in money for the rest of your life. And if you go to the World Series, or if you don't go to the World Series, and yet you make a big playoff push past the first round, home playoff games, God, it was awesome a couple of years ago, but you got one, right? You got one home playoff game. Imagine having a 7-game series here with multiple games. God, just printing money left and right. So again, just we're pleading to Stanton in the group one more time, and we'll have What the Puck with a new addition to the Mariners ownership group. But Hancock was okay. I think a little bit of a lesson learned there for Hancock, because I think people are gonna sit back and go, well, hey, you can't blame him for the 4th inning because Mitch Haniger drops the ball, which, he owned up to it. I love what he said, to the press. I effed up, man. I love how I can swear here, but I don't. It's so weird. Eventually I will swear. I don't know why I can't pull the trigger. But he owned up to it. That's a routine play. He knows that. There was nothing difficult about that at all. I mean, maybe he thought France was going to get after it. I don't know. But he's made that play 1,000 times. He's made that play in Little League. But I would say this for Hancock, and yeah, okay, that happened. You had one out, and you should have had 2 there. But as a pitcher, you need to pick up your outfield. You need to pick up your other teammates. Because when pitchers aren't going great and they're struggling, and maybe they don't have the best command, there's plenty of times where your defense picks up the pitcher. And I think for Emerson Hancock right there, he rattled a little bit, obviously, of what took place and what transpired. But you got to turn the page and get the other guys out and say, listen, I'm going to pick up Mitch Haniger because I know he's going to make a play for me, maybe later in this game or later in the season. But, gives up a single to Acuna and Albies, and then Austin Riley has the triple, and then he's out of the game. So it obviously affected Hancock, couldn't recover, but he's a young pitcher, and he's pitching against the team that he grew up loving. So just a small thing. It's not laying blame on Emerson Hancock, but I do just think it's kind of the maturation for any young pitcher or any young player is you got to turn the page quickly and move on to the next at-bat. Okay, screwed it up. He's going to make a play coming up later in the season for you. And just move on and go. Bullpen did their job. They gave the offense every opportunity to come back in that game. Thornton, Miller, Saucedo, all those guys. Voth, they did everything. 5 1/3, and they gave up 1 hit. But again, it's this offense. If there is any type of stumble with their starter or there's poor defense, if something happens like that happened in the 4th inning, right now this offense has this inability to string a bunch of runs together and offense together. And that was kind of the MO, or that was at least the thought process going into the offseason was that's what we wanted to improve on. That's what we wanted to get better at, was that. And they just haven't been able to do it yet. And I'm going to still hold out yet. Please, at some point, let it happen. Let these guys heat up. The Mitch Garvers of the world. Polanco's got to get better. Julio's got to get better. They all got to get better. All of them, top to bottom, have got to get better. For this team to really reach its ultimate goal, which I think you look at them pitching-wise, there's no one that doubts that they can win this whole thing if they could just get a little bit more offense and improve kind of in that area. But you had highlighted yesterday in the 9th inning. I mean, it's an unfortunate 9th inning. Luke Raley works a walk. Julio gets a single. But then you just go right down in order. Mitch is out. Polanco out. Raleigh gets out. Ball game over. That was a golden opportunity because of what your bullpen allowed you to do to stay in the game. So with those guys coming up, I mean, that's the heart of your order. And it was just feeble, kind of a feeble situation there. I mean, tip your cap. I love that. By the way, go Cougs. If you're not watching, if you're just listening, go Cougs hat on. And I will be I'll tease something at the end of someone that we are taping later today. 7-game road trip. They got the off day, and then they'll start up in Houston. Houston, of course, playing a little bit better, but what are they still? 9-10 games under 500. And then they'll 4 in Minnesota. Minnesota's red hot. They've won 10 straight because they've been tapping their sausage. I had no idea about this story until Brad Adam brought it up. I don't know why. I watch baseball all the time. MLB Central. I watch Quick Pitch at night. And how did I miss this story about them with an old sausage that they're bringing with them? How disgusting is that? And they're They're touching the sausage, tapping it, stroking it, massaging the sausage. We all could use more of that, you know what I mean? So that's disgusting, but also awesome at the same time. It's what makes baseball just kind of this weird sport. The superstition and superstitions with this sport and what it does. It's just remarkable. So 7-game road trip before they come back home. They were great last year in Houston. Hopefully they can keep it up at 6-1, I think, in Houston last year. So maybe they've kind of turned the page on that one. And we'll see if they can kind of maybe just bury Houston here a little bit. I mean, there's already unrest in Houston about if they don't get this thing turned around in a couple of weeks. I mean, they're going to just start selling off everybody on the team. I mean, they put Abreu down in the minor leagues. This is the guy they gave $55 million to a couple of years ago. So they'll do that. They'll come back. They get the A's. A's are playing better baseball. Theirs as well. So that's not going to be a cakewalk like it's been there potentially, kind of in the past. So no game today. Update on the under un-American update. If I can spit that out. Under un-American update. Bet M's under. This is what we're doing. We are betting the under, courtesy of the DraftKings Sportsbook app. We are betting the under on every single Mariners game this season. Because, well, we've just kind of laid it all out. They can't score, and teams can't score on them. But a push yesterday. Now, some of you got the hook because you waited later. But when I recorded this and when we did this, I had the total at 7. But some of you lucky SOBs had it at 7.5, so you actually won. So I pushed yesterday because the final was 5-2. I got a text from Jim Moore, and he goes, "Hey, are you you hoping that maybe they don't score any runs here so you can push your bet?" And I said, honestly, Jim, yeah, kind of. That's terrible. But I'm a degenerate. Don't live like me, okay? So no loss yesterday on Wednesday, no win, no game today. If you want to follow along, I suggest you do it as well. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook app, and you got to be in the vicinity there of the casino up there, Tulalip, to make your bet. But check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app. That's the app I'm using for all run totals on the over-under, and then lines. But we're just doing the totals. So just check out the total line and take the under. We're going to do this for the rest of the season, and we're going to see what our record is going to be with the hashtag BetImsUnder, hashtag summer under, hashtag under un-American, it is un-American. It's not fun to hope that no one scores any runs or points, but it kind of fits for these guys. What else do we got here on the DPD, the daily puck drop here on Thursday? Flag football trying to be sanctioned by the WIAA for girls. It's awesome. Emerald Ridge High School is with Tyler Lockett. If you guys remember at the draft, they were there creating awareness to have the sport sanctioned. It's going to be a part of the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. The measure needs 60% of the vote, and there are 53 voters in the WIAA. So they need 32 to pass. I think Mick Hoffman said in a story, I think was on the Seattle Times, that right now it's kind of a coin flip. What's the holdup? Why is it a coin flip? What could you I would ask any voter this. Why would you vote no on it? What's the point? Anything? If you're a parent or someone that would vote no on this, leave a comment below on YouTube. Why would you vote no? Why would you vote no on something that gives opportunities to girls or to anybody to play another sport? There's 11 states, I believe, that have sanctioned it already, Colorado being the last one. I'm just trying to think of any reason why you wouldn't do it. Space? Maybe space? Would that be it? I think I did read one comment from someone that said it's going to take away from other sports. Really? What other sports is it going to take away from? There's plenty of sports out there, but there's plenty of girls that probably want to play this sport. It's a fun. Love watching flag football. I sent my kid, the vampire and his buddies play it all the time in the spring. I still I can't figure out why we wouldn't sanction this. And also along those lines, I can't figure out, and it's been slow for this sport to roll here, but it has picked up a lot. And, of course, it started on the east side of, over in Bellevue and Kirkland and those places in Redmond, but it's prominent now in Seattle because I see a lot of kids playing it, and fields are picked, a lot of fields are taken over by it, which is good. And a lot of guys and some kids have given up baseball to do it, but that's okay. Fine. More sports, the better. That's what I say. More opportunities for kids, the better. So they're not inside sitting around and being a tubbo like me. Is lacrosse. I don't even know why. I can't understand it. Why lacrosse isn't a sanctioned sport yet. It's still a club sport. How's that possible? Can you imagine if you're from the East Coast and you came out moving out here to Seattle and you're like, so lacrosse isn't sanctioned in high school? It's a club sport? That doesn't make any sense. So to everybody out there, the WIAA, anybody that's voting, God, contact anybody that you know at the WIAA, contact your school, get this thing to be, I would love to see it. I brought it up to my daughter. I was like, in addition to doing gymnastics, you could go play flag football. I mean, she can't throw football, but that would be highly entertaining for me. So make it happen. Flag football, trying to become a sanctioned sport here in the state of Washington. Quickly on the Kraken, I do enjoy this because, me, the Puckett crisis firm, this is what I would do. If I was in charge of the Kraken PR, this is, and they hired the Puckett crisis firm, this is exactly the route I would go because it's smart and it makes sense. So let's just kind of refresh everybody. Emily Kaplan, who works for ESPN, she's been covering the NHL hockey forever, comes out with a report after they fired Dave Haxtell saying, hey, part of the reason that Dave Haxtell was fired is in the exit interviews, a number of players said they simply would not play for him again. And they didn't want him to be coach. And Ron Francis didn't want to fire him. That was the report. Now, I'm not in deep on hockey and the Kraken. One thing I do know from the outside, just being kind of a 3,000 mile away fan of it, is that Emily Kaplan is one of the most respected people in hockey. So don't listen to people now try to turn it around on her that she's somehow making up reports. I don't believe that Emily Kaplan of ESPN has forged this long career to then all of a sudden, I'm going to put my career on the line and I'm going to have a report that's on the broadcast of an NHL playoff game, and I'm going to just simply make something up. But this is a good job by the Kraken to get out in front of this, to put the message out there now that no, there is zero truth to this. None of it. Not one single piece of this is true. And we're gonna put players out there. We're gonna put people in front of cameras, and we're gonna deny this right away. And what is Emily Kaplan gonna do? She's not gonna come back and say anything. She's just gonna simply stick by her report. And I would ask anybody of this: if you 100% now believe what the Kraken are saying, that there were no players that in these exit interviews that had any issues with Dave Haxtell, or any player that said, hey, I really don't want to play for Dave Haxtell anymore. First of all, the only people that truly know this are it's just Ron Francis and the players, right? That's it. What did you think after this report came out? I would just ask you, if you do believe the Kraken on this one, I just want you to answer this question for yourself. What did you think the Kraken or the players were going to say when this story came out? Did you think Ron Francis or the players were going to come out and say, you know what? It's true. Ron Francis, we did hear from the players. They hated Dave Haxtell, and so we decided to make a move. They would never in a million years come out and acknowledge that. The only thing they could do would be to deny it, because it's just he said versus she said. That's all that is. Okay, and one of the easiest things to do, and again, as the CEO of the Puckett crisis firm, especially in today's day and age, is to shoot down the media and call it fake news. It's easy because most of you, it feels like nowadays, just simply don't trust them at all. And so it's easy for an organization and players to come out and deny something and say it's not true. How much of the Kaplan report is true? None of us truly know. But I simply do not believe Emily Kaplan made up the story. And I don't think it was some hearsay from third parties. I believe she got it from management or players themselves. She's a pretty detail-oriented reporter. It does not come across as one of these people that just flippantly reports on stuff. But the Kraken kind of know that. The Kraken know she's not going to kind of come out, double down, and get into some type of argument with the team. Okay? I mean, the Kraken went so far as to say I think they want some type of retraction or apology. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if she comes out and apologizes and retracts it, then the Kraken were right. But it's a good strategy by the Kraken PR department to get out in front of this, because right now they look like, hey, we didn't do anything. But to have conversations behind the scenes that maybe they tried to push him out, player empowerment is new and has been in other sports for a long time. Maybe it's starting to finally infiltrate the NHL. And I would just say this: if you didn't have confidence in him after 1 year, why did you give him a contract extension less than a year ago? It was less than a year ago that Ron Francis gave Dave Hagstall an extension. And now all of a sudden he doesn't know how to coach? Seems odd. What happened to Philly fans real quick? I got a couple of Philly fans. They know who they are. And they always tell me they are. God, there's nobody else like Philly fans, blah, blah, blah. East Coast, West Coast sucks. Seattle sucks. Hey, Philly fans, and the two of you that I know, you're listening and watching. How come your owner had to buy out the Knicks then? You can't even sell out the goddamn arena there because the Knicks fans have bought them all up. And so your owner had to go buy like 2,000 tickets to prevent Knicks fans from coming into Game 6 tonight here on Thursday. New York leads that series 3-2. I got to see Game 7 because I want to see Game 7 in New York. So Philly fans, F you. All right? And when I say fans, and there's two of them, all right, F you guys. Stop bragging about Philly sports all the time when you need your owner to sit there and buy out 2,000 tickets so you can prevent the other team from coming in. College football news it's college football news Twitter-wise. You following this Deion Sanders story? What the hell is Deion Sanders in Colorado doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? They're going after former players on Twitter. Deion Sanders is a grown adult. What is he up to? So The Athletic does this piece on former Colorado players that have recently transferred out, and they kind of focused on one guy. His name is Xavier Smith, and Deion told him, and this happens, by the way, so don't say, "Oh my God, that's so rude." This happens all the time. You want to know why guys transfer? It's because coaches go up to the player and say, you should probably look to go in the portal, or you should look to transfer. It would be wise for you to find another place. It happens all the time. Some of you may not realize this. A scholarship is not 4 years. It's just a 1-year deal. Okay. It doesn't automatically roll over for you. So apparently Deion Sanders told this Xavier Smith guy, you should hit the portal. Xavier Smith said, no, I'm good. I want to stay here, which I love, by the way. He's like, no, man, I like it here, and I want to make it here. I'm not going to go transfer out because you want me out. So he stayed in spring practice and apparently was ignored during spring practice, like on the back burner and all that. He ends up leaving to go to Austin Peay. So the story is detailed in The Athletic, and there's, tweets out there that quote Xavier Smith. Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, Deion's son, goes on Twitter, goes on X, and says, I've never heard of this guy, and called him mid, which is, he's an average player. I love how I have to explain that to people like you don't know what that means. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Other players then went on to attack Xavier Smith online. One post was from a wide receiver who's a freshman at Colorado. His name is Caleb Smith. Now, Caleb Smith, All-American, probably had a huge year for Colorado, right? So Caleb Smith is the guy that you want now to carry that Buffs flag to go after Xavier Smith and tell the world what a bad football player Xavier Smith was. Because Caleb Smith had, probably 80, 90 catches last year, probably over 1,000 yards, near 1,000 yards, probably freshman of the year, maybe Pac-12 freshman, first team, freshman All-America. Caleb Smith had 6 catches last year for 38 yards. So he was the guy that decided, I'm going to pick up the bus flag and start waving it around on Twitter and going after Xavier Smith. Then an Austin Peay player jumped in to defend Xavier Smith, who had just transferred there. and had brought up the stats for Caleb Smith, the Colorado football player, and just said, "Man, why are you talking? Look at your stats." Now, this player was a cornerback for Austin Peay, had like relatively mediocre stats, average stats at Austin Peay. Okay. So then who jumps in to the conversation now? The head football coach at Colorado, Deion Sanders, who quotes the kid's stats at Austin Peay with the title, Lord Jesus. He's a football coach of a Power 5 conference. Do you think he's got more on his plate? By the way, his recruiting class is like 80th in the country. You think maybe he should have a little, first of all, not engage on social media with a bunch of idiot fans and players? You're the CEO of the football program. What are you doing? Why are you engaging in something that you should have no part in or role in, about a guy that's getting attacked online, and then you're feeding into it? And then he's just responding to people on Twitter left and right, including one person who had said in reaction to that, "You guys were 4-8 last year. What are you talking about?" Because Deion was going on and on about how Shedeur is going to be a top 5 pick next season, and hey, watch out, we're going to be a bold team, and all that kind of stuff, which he did at the spring game. And the guy said, "You guys were 4-8 last year." And then Deion responded with, "He'll be a top 5 pick. Where's your son going? LOL." I mean, come on, Deion. You know, the Sanders and the Colorado story was great last year because it started off great and it was great TV and there was a lot of eyeballs on it, but they were terrible and they were bad and they beat bad teams. And then later in the season, they got exposed and they got their asses kicked left and right. And they're going to get their asses kicked again this year. And here's the deal. They ain't going to go to a bowl game. And if they do, it's going to be a mediocre game. And they're going to be like 6-5. They're going to be like a 6-6 football team. Their win total this year is 5.5, by the way. But here's the real question for Deion in Colorado and all those guys. When you sold your soul to hire him, what happens when Shedeur will leave this year? Because he will be a high draft pick. He's a good quarterback. What happens when Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter leave after this year? What happens? Do you really think Deion Sanders is sticking around for another year to be the head coach of that football team without his 2 best playmakers? I mean, the 2 best players on his team by far and away. They're the only 2 players on the team, by the way. That's it. The only he recruits and gets guys like it's AAU basketball where 2 guys can do everything, like the Thompson twins for Overtime Elite. It's football. Okay. Massive. There's 80 guys, 80 plus guys on the team. He's going to bail. He's going to bail and he's going to jump ship. That's what he's going to do. And what's his legacy going to be? That he was good for 4 games and it was hype and it was great and that's it? I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see what happens when Shedeur and both Travis Hunter leave. All right. Finally, we wrap it up here. The DPD, the Daily Puck Drop. Hey, what the puck? Okay, this is a non-sports story. And I'm going to kind of whisper this one because I'm a little bit nervous about this. Another Boeing whistleblower has been found dead. Joshua Dean, he was a quality auditor at Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems. He was the first one to allege Spirit leadership ignored defects on the 737 MAX. He died from a sudden, fast-spreading infection. Family says he's 45 in great health. Died 2 weeks after being in critical condition. He was fired back in 2023 by Spirit after he filed a complaint with the Department of Labor. Went to the hospital 2 weeks ago, had trouble breathing, developed pneumonia and a bacterial infection, and dead. Now, this is where it gets real just creepy, and I'm just going to kind of whisper this. I don't want anybody showing up where I'm at. He was represented by the same law firm in South Carolina who represented John Barnett. And Barnett was the individual who was found dead in an apparent suicide back in March. And he was giving depositions against Boeing at the time. Now, the coroner's office ruled it likely and appeared, those were what the coroner wrote down, appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But the police to this day are still investigating the case. I don't know about you. It makes me a little nervous. Huh? Is that a coincidence? Do you think that's a coincidence what's going on right now? Or am I too much of like a Oliver Stone conspiracy guy? Have I watched too many movies to think something's up? Have I watched too much Homeland with Carrie? Is that me? Is that my problem? Is this me? Is this a me problem? I don't know. That's a weird one. M's have new owners. This is an absolute nothing burger of a story, but I'm bringing it up because God, everybody's like, oh, they're getting new owners. This must be a change in philosophy. They're going to spend a bunch of money. Brad Smith is the new owner, and his wife. He works at Microsoft, spent the last 9 years vice chair and president. He's valued, and I'm going to say, I'm using air quotes for the listeners, he's only valued at $232 million. And that's a lot of money, obviously, but it's not a lot of money for an owner. He bought minority shares from a group who's like in their 90s and didn't want him anymore. So they needed someone to get him. There's going to be no change. There's going to be nothing. Brad Smith isn't coming here to like change the ownership group around or spend a bunch more money. He can't afford it. Not from an owner's perspective. He's just there kind of because they need somebody to buy up a very minuscule amount of shares. So, hey, tip of the cap, Brad Smith, new Mariners owner. Hey, again, voicemails returning. I've got a few of them, including, I think, a new character, but we need to hear from the past with the old school ones. Okay? So if you're watching and listening to this and you want to leave a voicemail, you got to actually record it. Don't write it down. It's super easy. All you got to do is go to pucksports.com under the contact tab. Just record it on your phone and then send it to puck@pucksports.com. That's all you got to do. Go to your phone, 35 seconds, 40 seconds, like we did old school on the radio. Leave a voicemail, voice recording, and then email it to me at puck. Oh, let me stop. I'm confusing myself now. puck@pucksports.com. Again, voicemails at puck@pucksports.com. That's all I got to do. It's easy peasy. We got a new character we'll unveil on Friday. We're going to do them. We're going to get the best ones, and we'll do them every single Friday. There on the website. We'll do it on the end of the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. Okay, that's it for us today here on Thursday. A reminder, we're taping later today. We've got episodes coming up later today. It's our Thursday football extravaganza show. Mike Garafolo, Rob Staten coming up today, both kind of recapping the NFL draft. They were on our NFL draft show last week. And then, of course, on Friday, we'll have Chris Egan. Ryan Divish is back. And because we're recording him on Thursday and we'll play it for you on Friday, I can't wait for this. He's retiring after 39 years in television. Eric Johnson for Como 4. We'll sit down. We'll record the podcast with him later today on Thursday, and then we'll play it for you on Friday. Probably release it in the morning along with the DPD. Thank you so much for watching and listening and supporting and emailing and all the nice, kind words. I appreciate it. It means the world to me. Thank you for supporting. We love you guys to death. Keep watching. Keep subscribing. Keep leaving comments. Please interact as much as possible. The Thursday edition episode, what did we say this is? Episode 72? How about that? We've done 72 of these things. Episode 72, the Daily Puck Drop on Thursday, in the books. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
Shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!